We'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast, your voice in my headset about friendships. And man, I've got two really cool friends here today that we're going to be talking with. And so one is Nora Fry and the other is Peter Miles. Nora and I have known each other for a little over 5 months. So it's been short. She's a very dear friend of mine. It's kind of crazy how the friendship has happened and how fast it's gone. Peter and I have known each other for many, many years, and we are good friends and have done a lot of different things over the years. And so, Nora and I are working on the a book, Your Voice in My Headset, again on friendship. We do a weekly podcast together. We're building models and how do you have a level 1, 2, and 3, and 4 friends and friendships and a whole bunch of other cool things. Her life vision is really about healing. How do you
It's just
help people
left over here.
in being able to go through that healing process? And so she's a cool young lady. Nora, tell us a little bit about yourself if you could.
Yeah, so I grew up Amish, family of 10, and I'm the youngest, so a lot of exciting things there.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, so when I was 15, God told me that a couple things actually, but or revealed a couple things to me, said that someday I will be adopting a child from a different race. So at the age of 15, you don't really know what that means, but you kind of just tuck it in your heart and you know that's going to happen. Um, so there's that. And then in the Amish culture, when you turn 16, you kind of get to go out and make your own choices. And most of the time, it's choices are made that are not very great. And so with being the youngest of 10 and having, 9 other siblings go through that phase and them all coming back and saying that they wasted a lot of their teenage years doing stuff that they wish they wouldn't have, I decided, well, why would you do that? So I'm like, I'm gonna take a different path. So did that, and so I guess fast forward 11 years, me and my husband, soon to be ex-husband, but we adopted our now 3-year-old son. So really cool story there. A long one, so I won't go into details. But his mom is half African American, half Native American, and his dad's Hispanic. So really, really cool kid. Love him to death. So yeah, we got him or adopted him as a baby. And then about a year later, I decided to pursue aviation. So I did a discovery flight, and I was hooked. And so started in September of 2023, had my discovery flight, and then started lessons. Soloed in November, so like 2 months later, I soloed. So that was a really cool experience. And then got my private pilot license in February, and then my instrument rating in August, and have been working on my commercial license ever since. So I'm a little over 200 hours, working towards 250, obviously, for my commercial. And then I want to go helicopter, so do helicopter training, and then with an end goal of medevac. So that's kind of my story. I've been working with Mark and Synergy for the past 5 months. Really cool experience, something I never thought I'd do, but it's been really fun. And I think it's with the stuff that we're doing now, I think it's like, it's all about the journey, right? So I think it's going to be very helpful with where I'm going. And it's kind of a process. So I think it's going to be very helpful with all the personalities and all that kind of stuff. I think that's going to come in handy, and I'm going to be really glad that this was a part of my journey to get to medevac. So yeah, that's kind of me.
Peter, tell us, give us your background.
Well, I'm only chuckling because I don't know if you know this, but the story she just told is eerily similar to my son, who's the father of my grandchildren, who's going through a divorce right now, and the mother of those children doesn't want anything to do with them. And he's obviously right now he's probably know this, the chief flight instructor at a school, and he's has been for the last year and a half, and he's about ready to go to the airlines as he's unraveling this unholy mess at the same time. So well, I wasn't going to say anything, but the hair is standing up on my arm. It's one of those feelings where you're going, oh lordy lordy.
Right.
Now I know why I'm on this podcast.
Right.
Right?
but not for the reasons I may normally be on it. But anyway, there we go. My background, well, it's very hard to tell. I'll try and do it in 60 seconds, right? I'm a country boy. My mother's family have been farmers in the same plot of land in Denmark for 1,000 years. My father is English, he's Danish. My father, they're still alive, both of them still married. My father is 700 years in the Cotswolds, as far as we know. I started off working as a manual laborer in agriculture. So I was a farmhand basically for 4 or 5 years, but I was essentially one since I was 10 years old. I went to agriculture college, met a whole bunch of people, 5 of whom I'm going back to meet in England after 40 years, or not 40 years since I last saw them, but since we were at college together this weekend. I decided to head off to Africa when I was 21 to do something that fell through. I ended up starting a trucking company in Africa when I was 21. I came back, did another course in agriculture, went out and worked in agriculture in sales, feed compounding, and then became a forensic management accountant for a lot of the landed gentry in England. Ended up back, couldn't make enough money, started working for a John Deere dealership, ended up running it, made some money, owned a home, sold it, went to become a commercial pilot in America in 1991. So I'm a fully fledged commercial pilot. My eldest son was born, couldn't afford to wait 2 years to get a proper job. Went back to England when I was 32. Wrote on a piece of paper, cars, bikes, boats, planes. My dad was a self-employed tech with a little gas station in the middle of nowhere in England. I chose cars, so I lobbied a whole bunch of car companies, got an interview with Land Rover in the UK. They said they wanted to hire me. I told them I wanted to work in America. They said, okay. Sent my stuff to America, spent another 7 months calling on the phone back in those days. Got through to somebody that's become a lifelong friend who was one of the directors, who said, I told him I'm going to be out in America next week. Any chance of an interview? He said, absolutely. I bought a ticket, flew out to America, got hired, had 6 jobs in 3 years, became chief operating officer of Land Rover North America, went through a bunch of buy sells with Ford Motor Company, then became president of Rolls-Royce Motor Cars when they were relaunching it, having been bought and rebuilt by BMW, and then went on to become chief operating officer for BMW Group for 6 years. Sadly ended up getting divorced, was broke at 55, went out and started a dealership with BMW, Land Rover, the companies that I'd been on the board of previously. For the first time in history, they gave an executive employee the franchises. We now have 450 employees, turnover $500 million a year. I now involved in disabled school in Africa, African parks, conservation. I bought an airplane to help my son. Well, he manages it and rents it out at a club that he is now chief instructor at, and building a home in Africa so I can be closer to my disabled school, and on a farm out there. Then heading off to help my parents who are 92 and 93 this week in England, and I have my resident grandchildren here as my son's on the way to a career where he can become independent, and will be for a while a single parent father of 2, a 12-month-old and 3.5-year-old. So that's a quick summary of my constellation of chaos, but it's always been good to me.
So, Peter, like in the, in the friendship, what suggestions would you give? We've kind of worked on that. I've been working on friendships for years and had a lot of questions about friendships. And kind of for me, I've broken them down into 4 levels of friendships. And so it's interesting because when Nora came out to our place and we have a kind of retreat center ish. And so came out, met her for the first time. And I saw her and I saw her son, didn't know her story, didn't know who she was, anything about her, went up, introduced myself, and then, kind of walked away. And then her sister, who's a friend of ours and then also a client of ours, she comes up to me and said, "Did you meet my sister?" I'm like, "I don't know who that was." And she said, the girl over on the heart deck. And I said, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I met her." She says, "You need to go talk to her." I said, "Okay." She says she's going through a really hard time. I said, "Oh, okay. So it's okay to go deep with her?" She's like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." So I turn around, go over to her, and I say, "Hey, your sister said that, you're going through a tough time." She says, "Yeah." And I said, "Okay. Is it okay if I go deep with you?" And she said, "Yeah." And so all of a sudden everything just clicked. And she shared about, that was a Saturday. She shared how she was served divorce papers on the Friday. She didn't want to come, but she did anyways. And things move very quickly. And so it's almost like instant where our visions connected. So we skipped over. So level 1 is you'll like Mark. Level 2 is you won't like him. Like he'll irritate you. Level 3, a lot of people never get to level 3. You'll love Mark. And then level 4 is, your visions will connect. And so it's like her and my vision. So my life vision is touch every single person in the world, one person at a time, make a huge difference in every aspect of their life in a really fun and exciting way. Her vision is simpler, but harder to do, I think. Her vision is to bring healing to people. And so I can see how impacting you, it's hard. Like if people haven't healed from whatever pain they've had in life, like you can't really be your full potential if you haven't healed. And so
my son would say the same thing, by the way. This is my youngest son, who's the father of these 2 kids, that, and I'll come back to purpose and meaning and purpose in a second. But he would say, because he went through a really tough few years, when he was 18 to 23, 24, I would say. And I observed it all in the background, and the kind of person I am, so it's hard to observe, but when you can't push, right? And he would say today that, and I would say he healed himself from all kinds of emotional trauma. What it made him feel like was he could heal other people, and I would say he can, but I don't know whether we ever fully heal when we go through that kind of trauma. So I'd say there's a tipping point where you've learned what you've learned to heal yourself from the trauma that you've gone through, so that you know how to do it when it happens again. That's kind of life, right? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But I think you have to be careful that if you think you can heal anybody from their emotional trauma, because for those that are really deep, maybe deeper than you've been in, even though you've managed to figure out how to find your way through the ups and downs of life and the trauma of life. So to that extent, you also have to learn to protect yourself, that if you get in too deep. So that's it's kind of a word of caution, but it's never a word of give up, because I think, my mantra, a bit like yours, is that my purpose of being here, my reason for being here, is to be the best expression of myself that I can. And when I say myself, I mean as a human being. Whatever I choose to do or apply myself to, I want to do it better. Not do it better to compete, but do it better to know that I'm growing. Okay. And what I add to that is through the eyes of God, right? Because our creator, if you're not somebody that's fully bound to the idea that, or what God is in that sense. But what it does mean is, rather than just saying I did my best and I do my best, especially if you're finding you're trying to work through problems with people, if you think you're the best, you're not, right? So for me to fulfill that, knowing that every day I get up, whether I'm applying myself to work or applying myself to family or applying myself to friendship or applying myself, then it's important to protect in that regards when it comes to friendships and connections, your values, not to defend them with other people because that just creates argument, but to know when you're connecting through people that you just come across, and obviously people like you and people like me come across thousands and thousands of people when you're working and living around the world, whether they're poor, rich, Marxist, capitalists, whatever they are, that we've met a lot, right? And in my humble opinion, the only way I want to connect through someone, even if they're semi-evil, is through the good in them. Because I can't have a conversation, I can't make a connection unless I can find something good in them, or that I know to be good through my faith and through my experience with other people, right? Because we're all made up of good and bad. And if I look at your level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, I know exactly what you mean, right? In your sense. And I know what it means in my sense. It's slightly different because, you come across all sorts, and there's people that I always want to help, right? Some of my mantras to myself as a human being is no matter what difficulty I go through, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be part of the solution, right? So I don't go, God, why did you deal me this hand? I look at it and go, how do we make this better? I mean, for the collective, not, or if it's just one person or two people I'm talking to, for those two people, if it's just one and it's a homeless person, then it's me and that homeless person having a conversation. And I just need to find, I'm grateful that I'm in a suit, if I'm in a suit, standing outside, getting some fresh air at a convention, and there's a homeless person there that wants some money from me. I'm grateful for the fact that I can be there and have a conversation. And I would say that's the same whether it's in the boardroom or not. It's not whether I like the conversation. I'm grateful to be there. And I want to be of service because that's what makes me feel good inside. And what I feel grateful for is to be of service, to be of use. And so the key to that doesn't, there's different levels of friendship, right? Because you can, if you're wise about it, you can talk to anybody, right? You can talk to anybody, you can be gentle and you can connect with them, you can talk to anybody. And then it can come down to the truth is, right? The truth is you're having these problems because you're not dealing with the situation, and I can use terms like in a collaborative way, through light rather than through order. When I say order, I mean like a dictator. I'm going to tell you what to do, and you just need to do it. There's always around the golden rules in my book to get a little further, but really the only thing you can believe in is the truth. And so, as you're growing yourself, from when I was a younger man, I didn't always think I knew the truth. I never thought about it in those terms. I just believed what I was saying at times was right and correct, and I hoped people would listen, understand, and follow. As you mature, you start to realize, well, people want to be closer to you or engaged with you or follow you, not because of the rank that you hold, but because you speak the truth in such a way that that it connects with them, it resonates with them. It's like if you have somebody telling you, you know, I think your problem is, Mark, you're just not grateful. And you go, or they say to me, you're just not grateful for this, that, and the other. And I might say, well, I feel grateful, but you're telling me I'm not grateful. Why do you think I'm not grateful? Well, I think you should have done this or done that or said this and said that to me, let's say, or done this and done that for me, let's say. And I might say, well, it's not because I'm not grateful for having you in my company or in my presence or in my family or whatever else. So it's not the truth to say I'm ungrateful and you feel that I am. So if you understand that gratitude comes from within, right? And giving and receiving, just because you give, and I give a lot of time, emotion, and everything else, I'm grateful for the opportunity to do that. I don't really care whether somebody receives it all the way they should, or most of the time they do, but not always. And so there's these things you have to understand about your consciousness, you know, what the brain, the ego does, and what the heart resonance does. And the heart wants to connect. The mind wants to control. And you need both of them. But you kind of, life is a journey, right? We can choose what we want to get better at. So in the instance of healing oneself and healing others, I always say, and I said it to my son when he was going through his difficult time, and not to make it complicated, because he was shutting himself off from the outside world. But I just told him, it's mind, body, spirit, son. And if you can't take care of your mind right now, take care of your body or take care of your spirit. Study faith more. But if your mind is so out of control, your thoughts are so out of control, just work on your body. When your body gets healthy and strong, you'll find that it gives you more time and creates less stress, so that you can work on your soul, your faith. And when I say work on it, I mean study it like it's knowledge that you want to turn into a skill. That doesn't mean you have to parrot the verses of the Bible. It's great if you can do both. But if that's not the path you're going down, because you want to be a pilot or you want to be something else, then you have to walk and chew gum. So you don't need to become an absolute expert in both. You just need to learn the knowledge and learn the skill. And both those things come through practice and repetition and meditation and prayer, you could say, but certainly practice and repetition. And then
Nora, do you have any
mind is you gotta, if you're careful, you got to be careful between listening to psychiatrists and psychologists and therapists,
right?
Because they're textbook, right? I'm not saying they're good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm just saying you have to realize they're just a tool.
Right.
Take care of mind, body, spirit, and the future is whatever you want it to be. I wrote mine on a piece of paper because I knew I needed to do something to earn a living, and I didn't know. Like some people, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to be a carpenter. I didn't really know what I wanted to be. I thought there was something bigger for me to do, to have a bigger impact on the world. And I didn't really know what it was till probably in the last 10 years, where I started moving my attention to conservation and the least recognized members of the public, which to me was third world disabled children. and that kind of is where I've come to, and I'm very happy. And it's not because there's no things going bad or wrong in my world. If you're in business of any kind, there's always stuff going. What
we're going to do is we're going to go into part 2 here, segment 2, in just a couple minutes. But before we do that, Nora, do you have any questions for Peter or myself before we go into the part 2?
Yeah, I think like one question that I think is just golden across the board that like I just value a lot is like, what's something, Peter, that you would say you wish you knew at, I mean, I'm 29. So what's something that you know now that you wish you knew at 29?
Pretty much everything I've just said, because I
Okay.
didn't. I just had a feeling in my heart because of the way I was raised. You know, my father played the church organ for 12 people for 30 years. As a, they weren't, my family weren't Bible bashers or anything like that. We just grew up in a rural community with 280 people living in it, in farming part of England, which is kind of still the same today. And it was those values that were instilled in me. I thought at 19 I was an atheist, right? Because I had so many people around me, people that were older than me, but like family that died of cancer, you know, 2 or 3. And I thought, you know, there was kind of a rejection of faith at that time. And I didn't even really know truly what faith was. You know, my parents used to say, you know, you reap what you sow, son. Be careful. Don't do to others what you wouldn't want done to you. And it was some of those simple verses, and there's only probably about 10 of them that my parents said to me, but then there was other wise things that they said to me too, because they were just from generations of farming stock and uncomplicated people. Nobody in my family at that stage had ever been to college or university. They were people of the land. And it was mindset. And my dad, I've said this before, well, he just said to me, he wasn't a man of a lot of words, but when I was getting to teenage and being a bit rebellious, and I was trying to fix things for myself, he'd just say, son, if you're going to do something, do it right. And it just, things like that just stuck with me. So when I started working, I kind of, those were the kind of bare tools that I got. And then I just found that the more humor, playful curiosity I have, some of these features of light, you know, playful curiosity, gratitude, service to others, peace, love, and whatever the constituents are that should be the constituents of that create the feeling of love, right? It's just a feeling at the end of the day. You know, you ask somebody, why do you love me? Or why do you think I love this animal or this person or whatever? And it's a hard question for people to answer sometimes, but the true reasons that you can give when you understand just means you can love everybody. It doesn't mean you have to like everybody. It doesn't mean you can get along with everybody, but you should be able to love living things in life. Right? Not be scared of them, spiders and snakes, you know, all this kind of stuff. Because when you see the world through love, and I would never have said this when I was on the board of a company 10 years ago, but life just keeps getting better and better as far as I'm concerned. It's not because I get richer and richer. I get more capable of doing more good. And I love that. And so it's hard when you're younger to recognize the things that you should as being part of your spirit, right? It's hard because unless somebody's taught, and I would imagine coming from an Amish background and community, you got a lot of tools that you probably use and probably that are dormant because they haven't always been demonstrated to you or practiced to you, or you haven't learned to practice them. And so, and in some instances, you can be fearful of things. We can all be fearful of things. And ultimately, there's nothing to fear. But it takes time to get that fear out, a fear of a past experience. Doesn't matter whether it's a fear of heights or a fear of whatever, this, that, and the other. You know, some people would say these things are genetic, you know, it's a phobia. I just don't agree with any of that. It's like if doctor asked me, was any members of your family die of a heart attack? Not really, but one. Oh, then it could be genetic. It's like, give me a break. I'm not. I'm not scared of the Woogie Man.
All right, so
so-
let's go ahead and let's put a, we're gonna finish this one up and we'll move to part 2 here. So if you have any questions on anything we cover today, feel free to connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300 outside the US 630-393-9909. And always remember, I mean, share this with others and talk about, you know, friendships. Like what type of a friendship? Do you want more friendships? Do you want different types of friendships? Do you want deeper friendships? And have those types of conversations. And again, if you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300 outside the US 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.